everybody, this is Christopher Brower here with Daily Motor, and today we're driving the 2021 Land Rover Discovery R Dynamic S. A bit of an unusual SUV for a couple of reasons. For one, we don't really drive many Land Rovers here on Daily Motor, and I was super excited when this one showed up because I've never driven a Land Rover Discovery, and the last Land Rover Discovery that I've even been in was a late 90s, early 2000s Discovery that my uncle used to own in downtown Chicago. His spare tire got stolen like 4 times off of that thing. But anyways, moving around to the back of the car here, the second reason this is a bit strange is because of the looks. And this is a little bit of a controversial area for the Discovery because it isn't symmetrical. The taillights are, but then the middle part, the license plate sits off to the left slightly, and a lot of people don't like this, but I think that it fits the vibe of the Discovery well. It's a little bit of a quirky SUV. It's a little bit different, so it's nice that we have this kind of strange design element here in the back. Otherwise, though, I think that it looks fabulous. This one has a couple of optional extras on the exterior. We've got a black painted roof, and then we also have these black 21-inch wheels, and you know, I'm gonna say it, I even like the brown paint. It's almost like a silver brown, silver beige. It complements the car very well, and every press car that I've seen has been this color, every press Land Rover Discovery, that is. So they're really pushing this beige color on the Discovery, and I don't know, it fits the adventurous vibe of the car really well. And honestly, guys, I think that this car actually looks really good. The looks have been growing on me quite a bit. Other cool design elements, this body line goes all the way down here for our Discovery fender badge. We've got our R Dynamic badge down here on the door. Of course, this is an R Dynamic S. This is sporting the 3-liter turbo mild hybrid inline 6, making 355 horsepower and 369 foot-pounds of torque. So pretty cool powertrain, and we'll get more into that once we're on the road. But for now, let's take a look in the back here. Power liftgate, you have to hold the button for a second. If you just press it, it doesn't do anything and makes you feel stupid. Anyways, we do have a 3rd row seat in this Discovery, and watch what these 2nd row seats do when you go to raise the 3rd row. They move forward slightly, which gets rid of the issue with most cars when they have power folding 3rd row seats. The 2nd row seats always get in the way, and then you have to walk up front, move the seats forward, then you can put these up. But Land Rover has thought of that, and the 2nd row seats move forward for you, so you've got just that much more room. Check that out. Pretty sweet. I know it's a pretty minor thing, but I really appreciate it. So we're going to try this 3rd row out. As you can see, when these 3rd row seats are up, you've got virtually no room back here, but you do have, oh, let me move our cargo cover thing here. You do have a small area back here for, oh, I don't know, a bag of chips, a couple hot dogs, something like that. I feel like Rady's rides comparing cargo space to food items. Anyways, let's go ahead and shut the boot here, and we will try out that 3rd row and see how much room we actually have. And then they will move this way for you. So you can get into the 3rd row. Pretty good amount of room. Not the most room to get back here, but I would say it's sufficient for most people that will be getting back here, which will most likely be children. All right, let's see how this does. So that's in its reclined setting. Well, for one thing, you're going to be about 1 inch from the people in the 2nd row, so hopefully they don't mind your head being right in between theirs. My knees are actually not as pushed into my chest as they normally are in 3rd row seats. They are, however, pressed up against the 2nd row. There we go. Needed to get that off my knees. Otherwise, though, it's honestly not really too bad back here. You've got little cubbies here to store things, and you've also got a USB port. So if you've got kids back here, they can charge their phones or, I don't know, whatever kids use these days, iPads. You've got a cubby for each side. And the actual quality of the seats is pretty nice as well. You know, for being third row seats, the leather's pretty soft, and you've got the same size headrests as you do in the second row, so pretty good. And also headroom is not bad either. I've got a camera on my face, so my head's not even touching the ceiling. And I think the best part of this third row is the fact that you get your own sunroof back here. If I were a kid, I would have just looked out the roof the whole time, because back in my day, we didn't have iPads. Anyways, all right, let's go ahead and get out of here and try out these second row seats. All right, so in the second row, I have a pretty good amount of legroom. And considering how much room I actually had back there as well, it's pretty impressive how much room I have up here in the second row. Seat material, it's a little bit better here in the second row, and of course up front, we've got little mounts here, I assume, for a screen, and then you've got little USB ports for cars that aren't optioned with screens, or actually, you know what, a tray. It's probably for a tray that clips in there, or I don't know, whatever else you clip into the back of a seat. Little cubby here to hold things. I don't know that you'd really fit a phone in there. Maybe some lighters if you're smoking back here or something. I don't condone that, but I don't know what else you'd fit in there. A couple of different ports down here. USB, a couple USB-Cs. You've got your own vents, but you don't have your own climate control panel. Seat back pockets. Those snap back pretty nicely. Window switches are up pretty high, but you know, you can rest your arm here and work your window. Actually, one more thing before I get out. I always love what Land Rover and Range Rover do with their floor mats. They always give nice quality. It's almost like a house mat in here. They're just like nice, thick, very, very high quality floor mats. And I'm happy to see that they exist here in the Discovery. Pretty cool stuff. All right, let's go up front. Very solid feeling door handle. I know that's kind of a weird thing to point out, but it's a very satisfying feel to open these doors. We do have a lot of dark materials up here. We've got some contrast stitching here, as you can see, with the white on the door panels and the seats. Our dynamic door sill as you step into the Discovery. Fully digital cluster here. You can see our side profile of the car there. Let's go ahead and fire it up. And it's just an effortless startup sequence. This car is a mild hybrid, so you don't even hear it crank. It is super, super smooth and effortless. Other materials in here, we do have some things other than leather. This is almost like, I don't even know how to describe this. It's like a wetsuit material or something. You have that material here on your center console lid. You've got it here down by your knees. It's also carried over here onto the door panels. And then we have another interesting material up here. They're all soft touch. None of the materials really feel out of place. And I can honestly appreciate that Land Rover is using different materials. Sometimes when you use leather on absolutely everything, it gets a little bit repetitive. So it's nice to see some different use of materials here. Nice perforation in these seats. The white stitching looks fabulous. Top of the dash, again, I don't know what sort of material that is. That's like ostrich skin or something. Doesn't Range Rover use like some material from a strange animal? Ooh. Ah! I'm discovering more compartments as I spend more time with this car. It's the first time I've opened this. Okay, so you've got an upper glove compartment there. Please shut, thank you. And then you have a lower glove compartment here. So very good utilization of real estate there and dashboard storage. Speaking of hidden compartments, this one is my favorite. So you've got your climate control panel here, which we'll talk about in a second. But you hit this button, and sometimes you have to give it a little bit of help here for it to open. Come on, there we go. Okay, so now that moves down, and you have a hidden compartment under your infotainment and behind your climate control. No one would ever check there. Comment down below what you would actually put in there. I've got to pull up on my Instagram right now too. I'm curious to see what people are going to say, but pretty cool hidden compartment. I really do appreciate when companies put little compartments like this in cars, like GM with the seat backs that open up or the console that slides forward. It's always cool stuff. because sometimes you need to hide things in your car, and you know, that's your own personal thing. And it's nice when you have spots from the factory that you can do that. Down here, just shifter, little cubby here for our cup holders or hideaway thing here. Drive mode dial here. As you can see, we can go through all those. Eco comfort, grass, gravel, snow, mud and ruts, sand, rock crawl, and wade, which is pretty cool. We'll leave it in comfort for now since we are just on the road. The actual climate control panel itself, apart from the fact that it's a hidden compartment, it's all right. It's very across the board. Jaguar Land Rover, they have these knobs that are multi-function. You push them if you want to adjust your heated seats. Turn it to the right and it'll adjust that. You pull it out for your fan speed here. Keep that at 1. Keep that at 1, please. Thank you. Push it again and it puts you back to your home setting sort of thing where you can adjust your temperature. So 3 different uses for that knob. At least we have knobs. Volume knob down here in front of the shifter as well, which is nice. I legitimately did not notice this volume knob until yesterday, and I've been driving this car for 4 days. Vehicle settings here, this car is actually on air suspension, and you've got to see what this thing looks like when it's aired out. It's so cool. And look at this thing. It looks so cool. It doesn't have quite as many settings as that Jeep Grand Cherokee L we were driving a couple of weeks ago, but I think it has just the right amount of settings. Access level, which is slammed, normal level, which is just arrow for driving, and then you also have off-road mode, which we'll put it in right now, so you can see how high up this thing will get. Ooh, wow, quite a bit higher now. Oh yes, now she's up on stilts. You may not have realized this car actually has quite a bit of off-roading pedigree. Land Rovers have always been known for wading through rivers and woods and things. I don't know, whatever sort of off-roading is available in Great Britain. These cars can do it all. So it's pretty cool to see that we have that air suspension on this Discovery. All right, let's go back down to our normal level for our drive here. Power adjust steering column, that makes Charlie very happy. I'm sure that he really enjoys this car because of that. Otherwise, steering wheel itself feels good in the hands, and we've got a number of controls here. Heated steering wheel button that lights up orange when you press it. Lane keep assist that lights up green when you press it. All cool stuff. All right, enough chit chat. Let's go ahead and get out on the road and see what this Land Rover Discovery is like to drive. Pretty standard shifter there nowadays. Everything just kind of clicks into place like that. That one can be a little bit frustrating sometimes. It doesn't always register your movement if you're acting fast, but it's okay, you get used to it. You do get a little bit of turbo noise from this inline 6. Super low down off the line. You can only hear it if you don't have the radio on. Let's see if we can get some here. I don't know if you can hear that on camera or not, but it's a pretty cool little spool. And speaking of this powertrain, the Land Rover Discovery used to have a supercharged V6, but for 2021, the model year of this car, they moved over to a turbo inline 6 with a mild hybrid system, and I'm telling you guys, it makes all the difference. Listen to this. What is it about inline 6s that's just so satisfying and proper? Any car can benefit from the addition of an inline 6 if it doesn't already have something bigger, obviously like a V8 or a V10 or a V12. But if something already has a V6 and then it gets replaced with an inline 6, which we're actually starting to see quite a bit nowadays. Mercedes is switching over to inline 6s. Jaguar Land Rover, they're switching over to inline 6s. Even Stellantis is switching over to inline 6s. So I'm excited to see the return of these engines, because they were quite popular back in the day, and then for some reason everything switched to V6s, but now I'm glad that we're coming back to these inline engines. And mated to our 3-liter turbo inline 6, we have, of course, an 8-speed automatic. This transmission is in pretty much everything, and it does a great job. It's tuned very nicely in this specific rendition, and it aids to making this powertrain just silky smooth. And I know I talk a lot about powertrains being smooth, and most powertrains nowadays in 2022 are very smooth, but there are a couple that stand out. And it's usually inline sixes. The GMC 1500 inline six diesel that we were driving, remarkably smooth powertrain. And even this petrol inline six in this Land Rover Discovery is damn near just as smooth as that diesel inline six in the GMC. So good things are happening in the industry. We're getting more inline sixes. And God, it's just such a smooth powertrain and plenty of power too. 355 horsepower, 369 foot-pounds of torque. I will say the throttle tuning and the overall feel of the accelerator, it's a little bit lazy. You've really got to get into it. If you want to feel that power, you've really got to floor it, honestly. Now, there's no sport mode that I found. We do have eco. The closest you're getting to sport mode is if you're in comfort, you slap your stick down. Yeah, and it puts you into S mode. It's just a sportier setting for the transmission here. It'll give you some downshifts. And I'm almost happy to report that this kind of handles just like a traditional SUV. And to be honest, it reminds me most of the Jeep Grand Cherokee. And honestly, I would kind of count that as a compliment more towards the Jeep Grand Cherokee, just because of what they've been doing so far with that car. It's really quite nice. But I said in that review, well, this Jeep reminds me of a Range Rover. And of course, Land Rover and Range Rover, it's the same thing. The Range Rover is a Land Rover, and this is a Land Rover. So this feels a bit like the Jeep. It feels a bit like a Range Rover. And it's quite nice. These cars drive differently. They feel a little blocky, if that makes sense. Everything's kind of heavy. You know, our steering is somewhat heavy. It's not too heavy. It is an electronically... oh, here we go. Hold on. Sorry. Really fast shifts from those paddles, and of course that ZF 8-speed. Anyways, though, these cars drive just slightly different. They just... Nothing really matches the feel of a Land Rover, of a Range Rover. I remember growing up, when my uncle had a Land Rover, I always thought it was so cool because it had stadium seating in the back, and obviously I was only like 4, 5, 6 years old. And I sat up high enough to where I could actually see things in the back of that Discovery, so that was a pretty cool experience riding around in that car as a kid. Driving position is excellent. I can see everything I need to see, and I've actually got the seat all the way down, which shows how high up you actually sit in a Discovery, and I've got tons of headroom up here even with a camera on my face. Quite a bit of body roll here. It's quite a tall car. And then all that torque comes on to make up for your slow corner. It's not the worst handling thing I've ever driven around there, but you can feel the weight and you can feel the height. This is such a tall car. It's a little bit nerve-wracking to take around a fast corner. So we do have lane keep assist. As I showed you earlier, it lights up green when you press the button. This is not a steering assist. What this will basically do is it'll catch you at the last second if you're going out of a lane, and let me get it when it's straight because I don't want to confuse it. It'll just nudge you back into the lane. Some of these luxury cars, man, they're not really keeping up with Hyundai and Kia with these driver assist systems. Got lane keep assist on. Yeah. Here, let's see. See that? It'll give you a little bit of a nudge, but it's not going to fully help you out and steer you. And we can't be driving a Land Rover Discovery without testing it out on the off-road portion of the DM test route. So this too is actually looking quite a bit muddy. So why don't we put this into its mud and ruts setting. So that program has been selected. And on our heads-up display up here, we can see our wade level and how much water we're actually sitting in right now, which there is a little bit of water up there, so that will be cool to check out. Let's put this into its off-road 2 height setting. All right, so here are our off-road cameras. You can see all sorts of different things here that aid us in driving off-road. We've got a pretty high resolution front camera there that will stay on even if you're on the highway. Pretty cool stuff. So this will tell us our different elevation as well. I hope you guys can see that in the heads-up display. Just doing some very slow off-roading here. Not exactly on the right tires today to be doing this, but the car gets through just fine, as you can see. All right, easy stuff. So no more hills here. Let's go ahead and lower our suspension back down to normal, because I want to drive through this last part a little bit faster, and we'll want to be more aerodynamic for that. We're going to keep the off-road cameras on. We're going to stay in mud and ruts mode. We'll run through here slightly faster. Looks like mud and ruts mode holds the gears a little bit longer than it would in normal. We've got a couple of tracks here. The car is just kind of sticking into those. Ooh, it's a little slippery. A little bit muddy and slippery. If I've learned anything from James May, you keep your thumbs on the outside of the steering wheel in case it kicks when you're off-roading. Yes, thank you. I feel like I'm a slot car right now. It's just like a scale extra car. Well, there you go. There's a little bit of mild off-roading in the Land Rover Discovery. There's a couple interior rattles when you're going over bumps, but not even really rattles, more of just shimmies. It sounds like things are flexing, so that's kind of interesting. All right, let's go ahead and get this back into a street setting here. We'll put this back into comfort mode. We're already in our normal suspension setting, so let's go back home here, back to Apple CarPlay. And let's actually go into sport mode and do a little bit of a launch. And there's 60. You can hear all that mud flying off. This thing is honestly pretty quick. Especially off the line, you can feel all that torque when you're brake torquing it. It just wants to go. So let's talk about pricing. Well, the base price on this Land Rover Discovery R Dynamic S with the 3-liter inline-six is about 62 grand. This particular car as spec is about 72 grand. So it's got quite a few options. Our black 21-inch wheels, our black roof, our cold weather pack with the heated windshield, heated washer jets, heated steering wheel, as well as our Meridian surround sound system, and a couple of different odd little options here and there. They add up quick, guys. You can really get this thing spec'd out up there. When I was looking at the window sticker, I was like, oh, this doesn't have very many options. It'll probably only be like 65 grand. But no, it's closer to being in the mid-70s. So is it worth it? Well, I don't know, because I hate to bring up the Jeep Grand Cherokee again, but I'm going to. We were driving the Grand Cherokee L Summit Reserve, which I would honestly say is a pretty fair competitor to this car, being that it was the top of the line with all of the luxuries and things, and it had third row seating. And that car just had the pretty anemic V6 naturally aspirated engine with about 100 horsepower less than this car, and that was about $67,000, so around about 5 grand less than this. If you opt for the V8, it adds a few grand to the price, and it would be pretty similarly priced to this Land Rover. And in the Jeep, you do get some more things. You can get a whole entire screen for the passenger that allows them to do whatever they want to do. That Summit Reserve also had massaging seats that were heated and cooled, and they were admittedly a softer leather than this Discovery. Now, I'm not saying that softer leather is always a good thing, because you need your leather to be quite rugged if you're going to be doing off-roading. And this Discovery is more aimed towards off-roading than the Jeep is. But if you're going just from a luxury standpoint, the Jeep does feel slightly more luxurious, but in different ways. As I mentioned earlier, the Land Rover does have more of a unique feel. Everything feels very blocky, very textbook Land Rover. Heavy, blocky, and solid. And the Jeep almost feels like it's imitating that. You don't get the full experience there. But it does drive very similarly. Very similar body roll around corners. This feels a little bit taller, of course, because it is taller. It has a very tall roof line. But overall, I really do like this Land Rover. The first day I was driving it, I wasn't super thrilled with it, but after living with it for 3-4 days now and discovering its hidden compartments and really winding out this inline six and now just taking it off-road, it's a really, really good little package. The interior is not overdone. It's simple. They've used their materials very well in here, and I don't know, everything just fits together quite nicely. And overall, I would say it's a good car. Is it worth $73,000? I don't quite know that I would pay that much for it. Maybe $63,000. I think it might be slightly overpriced, but again, you're paying for that badge. It's not something you have to think about when you're comparing it to a Jeep. All right, guys, well, that's going to wrap it up for us today. Hope you've enjoyed watching me drive this Land Rover Discovery R Dynamic S with this silky smooth, beautiful sounding 3-liter inline six. It has been a good experience. I always like driving things that are different, and this Land Rover Discovery is certainly different. It's another reason I would buy this car is because not many people have these. At least in Michigan, you don't really see Land Rover Discoveries, whereas every other car, it seems, is a Jeep Grand Cherokee. So at least you'd stand out in the Discovery, and that's part of what makes these cars special, is there just aren't as many of them around. Into park there, and the car should shut itself off without me even hitting the start-stop button. And it has. Haha, excellent. The seat does creak slightly when you get in and out. Anyways, let's do one more little walk around of this Land Rover Discovery, and then that will be it for today. Man, I got her a little bit muddy. It's okay, it just blends in with the tan paint. You can't even see the mud, except on the tires. Alright guys, well thank you all so much for watching. Comment down below what you think of the Discovery, and would you choose it over a Jeep Grand Cherokee? This has been Christopher Brower with Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.